If the universe ever had a sense of humor, salt would be its best punchline. The same white crystals we casually sprinkle over fries to make them taste better are the reason life exists at all. Every heartbeat, every crashing wave, every spark of lightning depends on salt in ways most of us never think about. It's everywhere, yet almost invisible, the quiet thread holding everything together. Without it, our world would fall apart faster than a souffle in an oven that runs too hot. Salt isn't just a seasoning. It's the planet's hidden heartbeat. It flows through the veins of oceans, hums inside every living cell, and keeps the rhythm of life in tune. It doesn't shine like gold or fuel engines like oil, but it connects the living to the lifeless, a bridge between chemistry and miracle. What makes it even more fascinating is this: sodium, a metal so reactive it explodes in water, and chlorine, a gas so poisonous it was once used in war. When the two combine, they form something essential for every breath you take. How strange is that? Two deadly elements becoming the very thing that sustains us. So maybe salt isn't just salt. Maybe it's proof that the universe loves contradictions, that beauty can come from danger, that balance can rise from chaos. And maybe, just maybe, in every grain that melts on your tongue lies the story of how Earth learned to live. Long before we learned to name it, salt was already shaping the Earth. Hundreds of millions of years ago, when continents still clung together like pieces of a drifting puzzle, shallow seas shimmered beneath a restless sun. As the water slowly vanished into the sky, it left behind glittering white crystals, the fingerprints of ancient oceans. Those layers sank deeper and deeper, buried under time itself, waiting for someone to rediscover them. Today we call them salt mines, but in truth, they're fossils of forgotten seas. Every grain of salt we taste carries the memory of a vanished world. When you sprinkle it over your dinner, you're seasoning your meal with the echo of primeval oceans, oceans that once breathed life into the first single-celled beings. That's how far its story goes back. Before bones, before trees, before even eyes that could see. Then came us, and salt became our silent companion through history. Before there was money, there was salt. Before there were nations, there were trade routes carved through deserts and coasts, carrying this precious mineral from hand to hand. It was called white gold, and it was powerful enough to build cities and topple empires. In ancient Rome, soldiers were paid in salt. Their salarium, the root of the word salary. In China, an entire dynasty was funded by the salt tax. And in 1930, Gandhi walked hundreds of miles to the sea simply to collect a handful of salt, defying an empire with nothing but grit and conviction. To people everywhere, salt wasn't just flavor, it was freedom. Across the ages, salt was sacred. It preserved food when harvests failed. It sealed friendships and pacts. It was poured on altars and mixed into holy water. Without salt, food spoiled, trade broke down, and communities crumbled. In many ways, salt was humanity's first invisible currency, the substance that bound us long before paper money or digital codes. It's strange, isn't it, that something so small, something we barely notice, once decided who lived, who thrived, and who ruled. Salt didn't just season our food, it seasoned our history. At its heart, salt is chemistry, but it's the kind of chemistry that feels like magic. Break it apart and you get two dangerous elements: sodium, a soft metal that bursts into flame when it touches water, and chlorine, a poisonous gas that once haunted battlefields. Yet when they come together, they create something gentle, necessary, and life-giving. It's almost poetic, danger transformed into harmony. When salt dissolves in water, it breaks into charged particles called ions. Sodium carries a positive charge. Chlorine carries a negative one. Those tiny charges are what make water able to conduct electricity, store energy, and keep life moving. Think of them as the smallest batteries on Earth, powering everything from your heartbeat to ocean tide. Inside your body, every thought you have, every muscle that moves, every signal your brain sends, it all depends on those microscopic surges of salt. When your mind decides to raise your hand, it's not willpower that moves it. It's the rush of sodium and potassium ions racing across your nerves. Without them, your muscles freeze, your heart stops, and your thoughts go silent. We are, quite literally, electric creatures running on salt water. It's no coincidence that human blood, sweat, and tears are salty. They're echoes of the ocean we came from. Billions of years ago, life began in salt water. And when the first organisms crawled onto land, they carried a piece of that sea within them. Every cell in your body is still filled with a liquid that mirrors the ocean's chemistry, as if we've never truly left. Salt doesn't just exist in us, it defines us. It's the conductor that keeps the rhythm of life steady, the invisible architect balancing chaos with order. Without salt, the Earth's pulse would stop. In your veins, in the oceans, and in the clouds above. Salt doesn't just live in our bodies, it shapes the rhythm of the entire planet. Every ocean current, every storm, every breath of wind that drifts across the sea begins with salt. When sunlight warms the surface of the ocean, water rises into vapor, leaving the salt behind. That leftover salt makes the remaining water heavier, pulling it down into the deep, while lighter water rises to take its place. And just like that, a silent engine starts turning, the global conveyor belt of the ocean. This endless motion moves warm water from the equator to the poles, and cold water back again. It's salt that keeps that heartbeat alive. If the salt or the temperature changes too much, the rhythm slows, and the climate trembles. Europe stays warm in winter because of that salty current. Without it, the world could tip into chaos, frozen where it once bloomed, scorched where it once thrived. Salt is Earth's hidden engineer. It keeps our weather breathing, our oceans circulating, our seasons in sync. Even the rain that falls on your window owes its story to the salt that drifts through the sky, carried upward in tiny crystals that seed the clouds. It's in the snow that melts into rivers. It's in the tears that fall when we look at something too beautiful for words. But like everything powerful, balance is the key. Too little salt, and the ocean currents slow. Too much, and life itself suffocates. In places like the Dead Sea, where salt overwhelms the water, nothing but microbes survive. And now, as melting ice pours fresh water into the northern seas, the balance shifts again. The salty rhythm that once stabilized the planet begins to stumble. When the ocean's pulse falters, the climate itself forgets how to breathe. It's strange to realize that a mineral so simple can decide the fate of entire worlds. But that salt, quiet, ancient, and endlessly patient, the invisible hand that keeps Earth alive. Today, salt is everywhere. In our kitchens, our roads, our factories, our medicines. It's so ordinary that we hardly notice it anymore. We buy it by the bag, spill it without a thought. But behind that simplicity lies a force that still runs the modern world. Every year, humanity pulls more than 300 million tons of salt from the earth, not for fries or pickles, but for steel, glass, plastic, paper, soap, and silicon. It keeps our highways from freezing, our food from spoiling, our water from hardening. It's in pills that keep hearts steady, in the detergents that keep clothes bright, and in the batteries that store sunlight for the night. Without salt, entire industries would vanish before breakfast. We even build cities on it. Places like Salzburg, the fortress of salt, were born from ancient deposits. In the United States, the Great Salt Lake still breathes the memory of prehistoric seas, while underground caverns store mountains of industrial salt that keep the country running through every winter storm. It's strange to think that the same mineral once paid Roman soldiers now melts snow on American highways. And the irony, most of the salt we use today was formed long before dinosaurs walked the earth. Each crystal is a fossil of an ancient ocean, a time capsule of sunlight and sea breeze trapped for millions of years. When you pour it from a shaker, you're holding a piece of the planet's memory, something older than every mountain you can see. Yet for all our progress, we still depend on salt the same way our ancestors did, to preserve, to balance, to endure. In every screen we touch, in every meal we share, in every heartbeat that keeps us alive, salt is still there, working quietly, asking for nothing in return. Maybe that's the real secret of salt. It reminds us that balance is never loud. It doesn't demand attention. It simply exists, doing its work quietly, holding the world together grain by grain. In a universe built on chaos, salt chose harmony. Every time it dissolves, it disappears, but only to make something else come alive. That's the quiet philosophy of salt. To vanish so others can endure. It doesn't shine, it doesn't rise, it doesn't roar. It just holds steady between storm and calm, between life and loss. Look around you. The ocean that breathes, the cloud that drifts, the pulse that beats inside you. They're all driven by salt. It links the first spark of life to every heartbeat beating right now. It's the thread that ties us to the oceans we came from, to the stars that gave us their dust, to the endless rhythm of creation. And maybe when the world feels too divided, too loud, too fast, we can learn something from it, to stay steady, to give more than we take, to keep balance even when no one's watching. Because if a single grain of salt can hold the sea together, then maybe a single act of grace can hold humanity the same way. So the next time you see it, that little sparkle on your table, that dust of life between your fingers, remember what it really is. It's the memory of the sea, the pulse of the earth, the whisper of time itself. And as long as it endures, so will we.